You just won a $656 million lottery. What do you do now? Congratulations, you just won millions of dollars in the lottery. That's great. Now you're screwed. No, really, you are. You're screwed. You see, it's something of an open secret that winners of obnoxiously large jackpots tend to end up badly with alarming regularity. Not the $1 million winners, but anyone in the 9-figure range is at high risk. 8 figures, pretty likely to be screwed. 7 figures, yeah, painful. Perhaps this is a consequence of the sample. The demographics of lottery players might be exactly the wrong people to win large sums of money, or perhaps money is the root of all evil. Either way, you're going to have to be careful. Believe it or not, your biggest enemy if you suddenly become possessed of large sums of money is you. At least you will have the consolation of meeting your fate by your own hand, but if you can't manage it on your own, don't worry. There are any number of willing participants ready to help you start your vicious downward spiral. Mind you, many of these will be friends, friendly neighbors, or family. Often they won't even have evil intentions. But, as I'm sure you know, that makes a little difference in the end. Most aren't evil. Most aren't malicious. Some are. None are good for you. So what the hell do you do if you're unlucky enough to win the lottery? This is the absolutely most important thing you can do right away. Nothing. Yes, nothing. Do not declare yourself the winner yet. Do not tell anyone. The urge is going to be nearly irresistible. Resist it. Trust me. Number 1, immediately retain an attorney. Get a partner from a larger national firm. Don't let them pawn off junior partners or associates on you. They might try, but insist that your lead be a partner who has been with the firm for a while. Do not use your local attorney. Yes, I mean your long-standing family attorney who did your mother's will. Do not use the guy who fought your dry cleaner bill. Do not use the guy you have trusted your entire life because of his long and faithful service to your family. In fact, do not use any firm that has any connection to your family, friends, or community. Trust me, this is bad. You want someone who has never heard of you, any of your friends, or any member of your family. Number 2, decide to take the lump sum. Number 3, decide right now how much you plan to give to family and friends. This really shouldn't be more than 20% or so. Figure it out right now. Pick your number. Tell your lawyer, that's it. Don't change it. Do not consult with family when deciding how much to give to family. You're going to get advice that is badly tainted by conflicts of interest. Number 4, you will be encouraged to hire an investment manager. Considerable pressure will be applied. Don't. Investment managers charge fees, usually a percentage of assets. Number 5, if you would like to be more global about your paranoia, use between 20% and 33% of what you have not decided to commit to a family fund immediately to purchase a combination of long-term U.S. treasuries. 5 or 10 years are a good idea, and perhaps even another G7 treasury instrument. This is your safety net. You'll be protected from yourself. Number 6, that leaves, say, 80% of $91.2 million or $72.9 million. Here's where things start to get less clear. Personally, I think you should dump half of this, or $36.4 million, into a boring S&P 500 index fund. Find something with low fees. You're going to be constantly tempted to retain sophisticated advisors who charge nominal fees. Don't. Period. Number 7. So you put a safety net in place. Well now, whatever you want. Go ahead and burn through $36.4 million in jet skis and designer bags if you want. You've got more security than 99% of the country. Just like that classic meme, if I ever win the lottery, no one will know, but there'll be signs. Story 2. I will sign the back of my ticket and take a picture or video of myself with it. I will call in and take a personal day, maybe a few, off work the next day. Then I will head to my bank and put the ticket in the safe deposit box. Next, I will get in contact with a financial advisor and a lawyer to go over my options for where to put the money, any legal obligations I have to fulfill, and all that jazz. Once all that is sorted out, I'll come forward with the ticket and claim my money. I'll start paying off debts. All my debts. My parents, my siblings, their spouses, and my girlfriend's debts. I'll move on to some other family members from there and even help a few very close friends. I'll set up a trust fund for my nephew. My sister and sister-in-law have been needing new cars for a while, so I'll buy them something nice but not super expensive or flashy. I will probably replace my parents' van as well, as it's been getting on in years. My dad will also not have to worry about finding another job just so he can afford to retire in another 10 to 15 years. I will let all of them know that I'm not the family or friendship bank. I'm willing to help out where I can, but it will not be bailouts or new cars all the time. I'll use my new financial freedom to help them also gain financial freedom, so they should be very capable of building something for themselves from there. I'll travel with my girlfriend for several months, seeing all the places I've wanted to see. We won't stay in fancy hotels or anything, opting for smaller venues. Okay, maybe a few really nice places. Traveling as simply as we possibly can. I work as a contractor, so I will likely quit my current position and look to start something of my own. I've always wondered what kind of company I could build in the IT space where I get a group of insanely talented programmers together and tell them, here's a couple of million, build some awesome stuff. Barring that, I would likely live very comfortably for the rest of my life, getting into various ventures that strike my fancy but won't break the bank. I won't live in a huge mansion or own super expensive cars, the extent of which will likely be a Tesla or something nifty like that. I will probably take the time to really study film, like I've always wanted, and simply experience and ponder life. I feel like one benefit I may have is that I'm the type of person who's fiercely loyal to his friends and family, but the moment someone oversteps their bounds and doesn't step back, I have zero problems excising them from my life. So if family members start to ask me for more and more money, or friends don't seem to want to hang out with me unless I pay for everything, I will have zero issues relocating myself and completely removing myself from their lives. I might find a way to keep in touch with my family, but they'll never know from where. I will have plenty of money in this scenario, and hopefully, it will continue to stay that way with sound investments, so I can easily make it happen. Hell, I could leave everything I have behind and buy it all over again if I had to. Story 3. We don't get to within 1/10 of that amount here in Australia regularly. I think the biggest amount ever was a special event for 9 million AU. We regularly see advertisements for 20 million AU, so assuming I won that, first I would pay any debts I may have, education, etc., which I think amount to about 20 grand. Then I would buy a house in the state I'm working in, which costs about $650,000 for a nice 4-bedroom place I can use as a base for the family if and when they travel over for holidays. I would spend about $100,000 in automating AV equipment. Gotta have a theater room. Next, I would upgrade the car from the 13-year-old machine with 133,000 kilometers, 83,000 miles, on it to a newer model. Not necessarily new, but newer. I would budget somewhere between $80,000 and $200,000. We pay a ridiculous luxury car tax in Australia. I would also buy a house in my home state, Tasmania, around the bay from my brother's place. It's a better location with more sun than they get, so I'd go for a full solar installation as well. The eventual idea is that they move in and rent out their place. I would pay builders to finish my uncle and aunt's place. She has just been diagnosed with early onset dementia at age 64. There are far more important things for them to do while she has some lucidity than build a house. I might even get them to move into my place for a while so they can play with the grandchildren, who live fairly locally. I would buy my sister a place in her hometown, something very old that she can do up or has done up. We all enjoy renovation work as a hobby. I would give my best friend a loan to get all the materials to build their extension now that their third child has arrived. I'll even act as a laborer. I would set up an education fund so my niece and nephew can attend a private school of their parents' choice, putting their current education fund into a trust-type account. I would buy my mom a brand new car every year and pay off any of her outstanding debts, e.g. she just got a new solar installation she's paying off over the next few years. I would set up a travel fund so that any of the family can go wherever they damn well please, whenever they want. Mom is retired and alone since being widowed. My sister works at the other end of the country. And my nephew is in year 2 of therapy, so I think that's probably the best thing I could do with any remainder. For example, towards the end of the year, we can all take a 4-day weekend and fly to Perth for my little sister's birthday celebration. That sort of thing. I wouldn't necessarily retire from work, as it's a bit of a dream job anyway. Largely a walk in the park and less than an hour's flight home. But I might donate my salary to charity. I would buy a safe. I would look into part-time study, perhaps a barista course, culinary school, or chocolatier training. That's about it. Actually, I'd probably make my little brother co-sign on anything. He's far more financially responsible than I am. I don't really care about money anyway. It's just a means to an end, and you can't take it with you. We'd probably do some sort of family trust thing, but I'd still listen to him about it. It's really interesting to see that some of these don't trust their family at all, and some would help them in a heartbeat. Just goes to show how different families are. Story 4. I'd wait a week or so to let it sink in. I would tell no one. I would get a very trustworthy lawyer who has knowledge of managing estates and setting up corporations. I would set up a dummy corporation to manage the winnings, with me as the sole investor. I know someone who did this with an inheritance to prevent other family members from depending on him when his dad passed. He sold his dad's share in the company. This way, he's not publicly listed except as an employee of the corporation, set up as a nonprofit, but only as a board member who voted on various measures in asset management. Because the corporation had almost the same rights as a person in the US, it was able to offset many taxes by rolling them over into properties and offshore investments. One of the advantages of this is that the corporation buys assets, but you don't own them. New car, company car. I can't afford this house, but my company can. Thus, anyone trying to sue you would find it very difficult because you don't actually have any money in your name. I would do something similar. Set up a single lump sum to be paid to the corporation where I am an enlisted board member. That way, moneylenders would have to go after the corporate structure, not me personally. The fact that I'm the only member of the board of directors need not be made public. Only the assets if I go the nonprofit route. I would tell no one. I would not quit my job, and I would not buy new things I couldn't have afforded anyway. I would buy safety insurance for my son and myself. I would sell my house and move, claiming a new job somewhere classified, which, given this area, would be very plausible. I would tell no one my address, which would be overseas. I'd quit my job under the pretense that I was working as a travel consultant for a government nonprofit. All my travel and moving expenses would be paid by the corporation and not tied to me. As far as anyone knows, I took a job overseas that I'm not allowed to talk about. I'd visit the States often. I'd drive rental cars and make up stories about the lonely travel life. Once things had settled down and I knew the money was coming in and set up, I'd live frugally for a while. Not completely cheap, but enough to get by without worrying. I'd spend money on experiences, like travel and not tangible assets. I would plan my funds for various nonprofit donations. No one would ever know until my passing. Story 5. Take the lump sum settlement. Establish a trust fund to manage the money in perpetuity, pay off all my debts, begin to quietly invest interest dividends in a wide variety of funds and businesses. Wait a few months before announcing that I've networked my way into a job with an investment firm and quitting my current job. Upgrade my car, maybe to a 2010 Porsche 997 Turbo, and build an addition to my house. I'll enjoy the life as someone who earns a low six-figure income for a year or two. I'm at a new investment firm with a solid job, remember? Match publicly viewable expenditure with realistic pay raises while acquiring land outside of my city and start building an estate. Announce that I'm leaving my investment firm, as I've had several personal investments pan out well. I'll move into my carbon zero estate and live the life of an eccentric, rich, married man in utter comfort. When friends ask for money, I'll ask for a business plan. If there's no plan, I'll say no. If there's a halfway decent plan, they will have a partner and financial backer. I'll purchase the debt from my father's business and become a very minimal partner. I'll pay off my mother's house and give her my car. My little brother needs some engine work on a Subaru. I'll offer to cover it for his birthday and return the car immaculately restored with a nearly fire-breathing WRX SDI engine wrap. After that, I will officially fund the extreme sports aerial videography business that he wants to start. I hold the hospitality of my home in a much more serious light than most. My house guests will want for nothing when they're with me. I have friends who host a full formal Grand Yule Ball every year in Atlanta. I'll host a summer version of my estate. Formal dress, a full bar, as much of my homebrew as anyone can drink, and entertainment throughout the night, all set in the rolling hills of my property. Dang, can you imagine winning this big of an amount? If you can dream big, you gotta plan bigger, right? List these down just in case. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more eye-opening content like this one. Story 6. I would buy a solid, high-tech, reasonable house. It'd be very small, though, and a solid, reasonable car. They'd be my main go-tos. I'd have a small vacation house in Japan and one really nice, expensive car. I'd set up my friends and family, but probably not give them cash. I'd have their property taxes come out of my account each year so they'd never have to worry about homelessness. They get reasonable cars, with a new one every 5 or 6 years. I'd take everyone on a twice-yearly, 2-week vacation wherever I wanted. They could come or not if they didn't like the place I chose. I may or may not work myself, depending on my mood. I'd hire someone to keep my place clean. I'd pay them to come once or twice a week to take care of the place since I'm bad at cleaning. I'd probably pick a non-working mom who just wanted some extra cash for a couple of hours' work. Right now, I just wish I had furniture and a bathtub where I could relax, and I wish it wasn't always cold. I'm so sick of being cold all the time. I probably wouldn't invest much, maybe in 10 and 20-year CDs or something safer. I'd keep back quite a lot and spend it very carefully. I don't plan on having kids, but I'd probably put my 2 friends as planned kids through college when they get there, and make sure they went to good schools and stuff. I'd make sure it lasted me the rest of my life. I'd spend a small amount of time exploring the world. I love Japanese shrines and theater, so I would be there quite a lot. I'd see things like that. Architecture and performance arts are my thing. Story 7. Really? Whatever I want to. But honestly, good accountant or money manager. Find out how much I can keep off the top to make my money work for me, keep the rest. Probably a couple million at least. Pay off my debts and the debts of everyone I love. I have friends in school. I'll pay off their loans. Give my parents enough cash to pay property taxes for the rest of their lives. Buy my dad a sailboat. A really nice one. He loves sailing but can't afford a boat. Done. Then he and my mom can just sail everywhere they want to. Give my sister the most epic wedding ever. No expenses spared. Quit my job. Travel the world with people I love. Finally, choose a few places to have houses around the world and then live a wealthy but conservative life. I like to party and drink, but I like doing that at dive bars and houses. I don't see that changing, as I don't like the atmosphere in really swanky places. I'd have a few cars, but nothing in the $500,000 range. My wardrobe will get better, but not flagrant. I'm not a big house kind of guy, so a small house with a moderate yard in the expensive places, New York, San Francisco, and a medium house, and lots of land in the cheaper places. Washington State. Start totally transparent charities based on the things I'm passionate about: crisis intervention, human rights, and furthering science and exploration. I can probably do bullet points 2 to 7 with less than $50 million, easily. That leaves $606 million to ensure my comfort for the rest of my life and the lives of all future generations, with the right investments, of course. Story 8. I'd really like to win the lottery. Every week I joke with my husband and coworkers. I'm planning to win tonight. I'll put my 2 weeks' notice tomorrow. Though we are currently poor, we'll make less than $30,000 this year. We're actually really happy. I'd like us to stay happy and keep the same values, habits, and what have you. I'm pretty simplistic in my hopes and dreams. I'd like a couch that's less than 20 years old. Heck, I'd like a new couch. I'd like to trade up into my car. It's a 2005 Honda Civic. It still runs great, but it has some body damage. I'll either pay for some repair work on it or get a newer Honda Civic. I like our house. Of course, I'll pay it off immediately and do some repairs and upgrades. I'll buy a new air conditioner and furnish the garage. It'll be a great rec room. Maybe after another child or two comes along, we'll move to a larger house, but not for a while. I don't want my daughter to have unlimited access to money at any age. She's only a baby right now, but I'm thinking ahead. No designer clothes, cars, or substances. We'll provide for her education and a good portion of her basic needs, at least through college. After that, I want her to make her own way. I want to travel. I'd like to spend a few nights in an ancient little hotel by the Seine, go camping outside of Urumqi, China, visit the pyramids and see the Code of Hammurabi. But a couple of times a year would be enough for me. I would like to think that lottery winner me is the same as regular me, just with fewer money worries. Story 9. Tell no one. Book a suite in a nearby hotel and hole up for the weekend, figuring out what to do next. Phone my office and tell them I'm never coming back, or they can keep the snacks in my file cabinet. Give a nice sum, $40 million or $50 million each, to my mom, dad, brother, sister, and ex-husband. Find the best powerlifting coach, tennis coach, yoga instructor, squash coach, golf instructor, and archery teacher out there and hire them. Trip to the Galapagos Islands and also that place with the swimming pigs that always turns up on social media. Figure out how to get U.S. residency so I could live in New York City for half the year without worrying about immigration nonsense. Permanently fund my local beagle and golden retriever rescues. Resolve to never fly economy class again. Figure out some random acts of expensive kindness for the people I barely know who are always so nice and brighten my day. The receptionist at the gym, lady at the coffee shop, a couple of my local doggy park people, the old guy up the street, etc. Donate a bunch of money via that crowdfunding website for athletes who don't get enough state support to focus on their sports. Be grateful I won in my 30s with a bit of life experience, not as an obnoxious 21-year-old who knew it all or a 65-year-old who had worked their bums off for decades. Give gold to my favorite posters on Reddit, which I only found out about an hour ago, but now can't imagine how I lived without. Winning the lottery is definitely a life-changing event, huh? Better to take a deep breath first and make smart decisions. Speaking of which, there are more smart decisions over on what's a good example of spending money to save money. Story 3 is a life hack. I might use that. See you there.